Hello and welcome to the Election Chaser, coming to you live from the National Tally Room in Canberra. I'm Craig Rucastle and I'm joined once again by the ABC's chief political commentator, Chris Taylor.
Thanks, Craig. Good evening.
And the ABC's election analyst, Julian Morrow. Well, with just 2 weeks to go now until the...
Sorry, I should have done that earlier.
Just 2 weeks to go until the close of polls. Let's recap on the current state of the board, Julian.
OK, well, only one seat decided at this stage after Chris called Dobell for the Liberals. So this is how the chamber's looking currently.
Oh, gee, the House hasn't looked that empty since Warren Truss gave his maiden speech.
However, we should also note that Labor hasn't formally conceded Dobell yet. And for the sake of argument, let's put that back into play.
OK, well, if we go back to the chamber, I'll just take Dobell out of play, and you see that's one down for the Liberals. Still a lot of undecided seats there, so if we go to the overall board... Yeah, look, on that, I'd say this election's still too close to call.
You heard it here first on the Election Chaser. Election 2001, still too close to call. So, Chris, what do you think are the big issues that could swing this election?
Well, I think the war continues to dominate, obviously. I mean, John Howard's campaign remains focused on his image as an international statesman. And I think his role in Afghanistan is now finally getting the international respect it deserves.
I think the American is superpower. American is enough for Afghanistan. No need for Australia to join the
Well, Labor's got its own problems, though, particularly with Shadow Treasurer Simon Crean, who proved once again this week just how out of touch with public opinion he really is.
The people that I knock around with, the people that I get out to see, the people that I engage with, I think in the main they do like me. I mean, I'm a likeable sort of guy, Heather.
Living in dreamland.
I really hope they're not going to run strongly on that one.
Yeah, look, I think overall I'd probably give the week to the coalition on balance. I mean, I thought Howard really shone at APEC. It was his chance to have his first really intimate meeting with President Megawati. And you can see here just how close they've become.
Yeah, well, obviously it was a very fruitful meeting, but Australians remain unconvinced. So I offered the Prime Minister another chance to prove the sceptics wrong. Just wondering, here's your opportunity. Here's your opportunity to get a photo with Megawati.
Yeah,
Look at this. Look how close you can get. Look how close.
No.
Come on, now's the time to sort out.
No gimmicks.
She won't answer the phone call because she's here now. Here now to talk to you, hey? I'm giving up this opportunity. Oh, come on. No? Megawati? George, what do you reckon? Just a quick photo with him. Look, I reckon I'm getting a good poll response now.
Yes, you're getting very good.
Welcome back to the National Tally Room. And Chris, an improvement for Labor in the polls this week.
Yeah, some encouraging news for Kim Beazley in the latest Morgan poll, although he does still trail Howard in the Nielsen's preferred Prime Minister poll. News poll also has Howard ahead. Now, notice the Ralph poll has the preferred leader as Anna Kournikova.
Look, Chris, I don't know why you're getting so hung up on those poll results. I've been saying for years that polls like that are just shams. They're unscientific, and quite frankly, it is a mystery to me why anyone gives those other clowns the time of day when I've got a more sophisticated system, which is much more reliable. One of the problems with traditional polls like the News poll is you often can't tell exactly what people actually think. That's why we've come up with the Abuse poll, where people don't tell us what they think, they show us. Don't tell us, because that creates all sorts of errors, but if you could just show us exactly what you think.
Be silent, Philistine, be silent, be silent, be silent.
OK, we get that? One for Mr Beazley.
This is the most strange one.
Well, it's a scientific poll. We need to conduct it in the tent because it's a controlled environment. So here's your chance to show your national leaders what you think of them.
Which one felt better?
Perhaps you can show us your preference in a very physical way.
I'm going to smash this bloke.
OK. Strongly anti-Labor at this stage.
Definitely.
OK.
I love you, Mr. Beazley.
Have another debate, you coward! Another debate! It was the best telly I've ever watched!
Good work, Kim.
You get that?
Unambiguous.
Sure. OK. That's a vote for Mr Beazley.
I want to knock his head off.
Give John a kiss.
They only care about getting back into power. I'd really like them to concentrate on issues that really help us in the future.
Sure. One of the problems that we're having is that we actually need a physical register on our scientific experiment. So perhaps you can show us exactly what you think.
What Beazley really needs is a good nipple crip. That's what he needs. That's what he needs. So I won't hug Kim, Yep, but John can get it there. Where are they? Clearly they're not there.
They're trying to do a public service, and I don't think that taking something like that and giving one of them a whack is appropriate.
A lot of people have been saying this is a public service, actually. Do you feel better after that?
Yes, I do.
Here is a message on behalf of the Australian Labor Party.
Kim Beazley stands for turning away boatloads of refugees, just like John Howard. Kim Beazley stands for Australian troops fighting in Afghanistan, just like John Howard.
Everything that the Prime Minister has said goes for me too. That's what I stand for.
Written and authorised by Kay Beazley in close conjunction with the Liberal Party.
Well, yesterday, of course, the Liberals had their official campaign launch in Sydney. It was a big day, and our man Chas Licciardello was there.
I'm down here at the Liberal Party launch because basically I love the Liberal Party. I love the fact they support small business. So here I am trying to make a quid on their inevitable victory because let's face it, we all know it's going to happen. I've got just the merchandise to celebrate. The Tampa in a bottle. All your Christmas islands will come at once with this one. G.I. John. The greatest Australian hero, everyone's favourite reaction figure. But while you're stormtrooping around Afghanistan, you might need a little backup, and you know who to call. The George Bush attachment. The George Bush attachment comes to perfectly fit John Howard, so whatever George Bush does, John Howard does too. For those formal occasions, the APEC jacket. Who could resist? But of course, all these items are just a little bit pricey, I know. So for your average Liberal punter who doesn't have a lot of money to spend, but really love to show their support for the Liberal Party, what we got here is just an old-fashioned kissing booth. Robert Menzies' ass. Why not put your money where your mouth is? I know I give it a peck every morning. Hey, sir, how are you?
Hello.
I got some great merchandise for you here. What do you reckon?
I can see that. That's
Celebrate the Liberals' victory before it happens. Ideal for any mantelpiece.
Where do the proceeds go to?
The proceeds go to me.
You
That's
lucky
me.
fella, I should have thought of something like that.
That's right, that's right. G.I. John Doe. What do you reckon? This is pretty good, don't you think?
It's magnificent.
Are you going to be the last Liberal without G.I. John Doe? G.I. John
better
Doe.
with your time instead of criticising the Liberal Party and go and do something productive.
I'm just trying to make a quid. It's
Oh,
just a struggling
look,
small business.
Waste of time. Get a life.
What do you think of... you've got to take this thing. You got kids? The kids
You
will love
start
it.
handing stuff around like that, you could finish up getting yourself hurt.
Oh, why do you think that for, sir?
Very easily.
G.I. John.
Yeah.
Don't reckon that's cool? I reckon the kids will love
He's
it.
keeping Australia safe.
He absolutely is. Oh, so close, but still. Malcolm Fraser said life wasn't meant to be easy. Malcolm Fraser. Robert Menzies' ass, what do you say?
Fantastic.
Every good Liberal won a peck. A kissing booth, you'll love it. Robert Menzies' ass.
Menzies was excellent Prime Minister.
That's right, that's why you should have a kiss. Only for...
He's wanted. Yes, he's wanted. You're not men.
Jeez, dear, tough today. They're not kidding when they say the economy's slowing down. I mean, if you can't move this stuff at a Liberal Party launch, where can you move it? Guess that's one more small business going under.
Election. Which one was that? Oh, the national election. I am a young Liberal, and I'm fucking proud of it. And John Howard and your GST, mate, bring it on any day.
Announcing a very special piece of Vice-Regal memorabilia. The Governor-General's rubber stamp. This timeless anachronism is ideal for endorsing any decision that's already been made.
I finished the shopping.
It's not finished yet.
The Governor-General's rubber stamp is perfect for making a purely symbolic contribution to your household.
I'll just play my part.
You can give your assent to just about anything.
What do you think?
I'll ratify that.
The Governor-General's rubber stamp. It's an offer not even Sir John Kerr could dismiss.
Welcome back. We're in the National Tally Room where Australia's future hangs in the balance. And it's been another tricky week for the Democrats.
Well, that's right. The leader, Natasha Stott-Despoja, found out this week that she doesn't relate to youth nearly as well as she thought.
And then there was the controversy over their preference deal with the major parties.
Yeah, that's right, in line with the Democrats' new policy of keeping the bastards in Parliament.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I wouldn't mind having a look at more seats, Julian. Can we have a look at the seat of Afghanistan?
Sure, I'll just bring that up. Afghanistan, obviously a new seat in this election.
Well, it's a really crucial seat, isn't it? In fact, I'd suggest that whoever wins Afghanistan will probably take out the election.
Yeah, and the war's really dominating as the big local issue over there. As you'd expect, look, the coalition polling very strongly.
Well, they've poured an enormous amount of resources into the seat to mean 1,500 campaigners, millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for the coalition to lose that from here.
And the fact is they've really got to win Afghanistan, don't they? Because it's now becoming clear they're not going to hold Indonesia. Can we just bring that up?
Yeah, the Libs are having real trouble getting their message heard in Indonesia. They've pretty well given up on it, and I'm actually predicting that Indonesia will go to an independent on local issues.
You're watching The Election Chaser live from the National Tally Room.
This child has been abused. At just 4 months old, Amy was taken from the arms of her mother and kissed by a politician. Every election, thousands of young babies like Amy are cynically exploited for political gain. These babies need your help. Please, call now. Together we can stop this needless slobber.
The issues. Leadership. Beazley and Howard are both very qualified wartime leaders. Kim Beazley was Defence Minister 11 years ago, during peacetime. John Howard has been a wartime Prime Minister for a month. Both have proven their leadership qualities by agreeing to follow whatever George Bush says.
Welcome back to the National Tally Room and the only count that counts. In a week where Kim Beazley released more detail on education spending.
Including, I noticed, a $20 million pledge of funds for the Johnny Young Talent School.
Now, can I just say, I noticed the advertising campaign turned a little bit nasty this week. The Libs put out a very personal attack on Cheryl Kerner.
Everyone knows Mr Beazley needs to act on Cheryl Kerner. The question is, why won't he?
Authorised by Earl Crosby for the Liberal Party, Canberra.
It's ugly stuff, and this kind of animosity is now even spilled out onto the street. Have a look at this campaign poster of John Howard and his local electorate of Bennelong, and right across the road is Labor's response. Oh, ouch.
Speaking of the Prime Minister, he certainly got some positive publicity this week from Australian Story.
Yes, no, that profile won't hurt him at all. We got some new insights into life at Kirribilli. Let's go inside the household now and have a look at their hat stand there, just on left of frame. Count them, 4 akubras.
And actually, when he's really trying to win the bush vote, I've actually seen him wear all 4 of those akubras at once.
And you'll see he's also got a baggy green there, which I believe he stole during his final visit to Don Bradman.
Yeah, well, certainly I think the relationship between John and Jeanette came through very strongly in the show.
It's very, very touching, isn't it? We've got some footage here of them on the dance floor, and they're just a great team. She just loves spending time with him. Hang on, did she just have a look at her watch? Can we have another look at that?
One of the great love stories.
One of the things that really stood out for me in the show was that John Howard's got a member of staff whose job is to actually hand him a cup of coffee when he gets out of a car.
Oh, I didn't really find that too unusual. I mean, I always get that whenever I arrive at the ABC.
The recent tragic events in the United States continue to touch our world. The global community has been pushed close to recession. And unfortunately, Australia isn't exempt. Who will you trust to make the tough decisions? Who will you trust to keep us on a firm footing? John Howard, a vote for stability. Keep Australia in safe hands.
Welcome back to the National Tally Room, where tonight dreams have been realised and hopes dashed. And we're now joined by Chas Licciardello, who's been out on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Craig. I've been out and about meeting a lot of politicians, and I've got to say, I never realised just how much protocol there is when shaking hands with a Polly. So I've compiled this list of do's and don'ts for when you bump into your favourite candidate. That was well done. See, a handshake is entirely appropriate.
I've been supporting you for a real long time.
But at the 40-second mark, this is probably becoming a little inappropriate. And after a minute, you should definitely let go before security restrains you. See, that's my mistake right there.
So let go before you get arrested?
In most cases, yes, but it gets a lot more complicated than that, Craig. For example, now that's fine.
But this is probably a little over the line.
So, no detachable body parts?
The pollies tend to frown upon them, yeah, especially when they're bloody.
But Chaz, there's much more to greeting politicians than just handshakes.
Oh, absolutely, Craig. Take this scenario.
Hi, mate, Chaz. I'm so
Once again, a handshake's fine, but a kiss is highly questionable. Unless, of course, they're well-versed in ethnic affairs. But watch out, because one thing can lead to another.
Inappropriate?
Precisely.
Well, in summary, Chaz.
OK. That's inappropriate. So's that. Now, that's certainly a no-no. And this one, well, I don't know about this. I'm leaning towards inappropriate.
Thanks, Chaz. We now cross live to the Wentworth Hotel in Sydney, where the Liberal Party traditionally gathers on election night. Charles Firth, any news of when Howard will be making a statement?
No sign of the PM as yet. I did speak to a doorman and he said that there was no indication that the PM would even turn up tonight.
Oh dear, well that's very telling, isn't it? It's now looking almost certain that we won't get a result tonight. In fact, it may be a couple of weeks before we know who's going to form government.
Well, if the Liberals are going to win, they're certainly going to need to rely on the Nationals. But unfortunately for their leader, John Anderson, few people seem to know who he is or what he looks like. I went up to Tweed Heads for the National Party launch and had a very hard time finding him. Have you seen John Anderson around today?
Who's John Anderson?
He's Deputy Prime Minister.
Of the country?
Yeah, of Australia. You don't know what he looks like?
No idea, mate. No idea at all.
What does he look like? He's tall?
Wears a suit.
Wears a suit.
Pretty nondescript.
Nondescript, all right. Yeah, I was just wondering if you could put out a call for John Anderson.
John Anderson in the store?
It's fairly ugly. He's fairly ugly?
Yeah.
He's bald with fucking glasses.
Bald with glasses?
Bald with glasses, mate.
Tall, thin, grey,
tall,
confused.
Thin. Mr Anderson. I'm Craig Rucastle from the Auction Shows. How are you going, Mr Anderson? You're the Deputy Prime Minister, right?
Yeah.
What's it like being Deputy Prime Minister of this country?
Oh, I love it.
You love it, yeah? You think you'll win this election?
Oh, definitely, mate.
Take it away?
Oh, yeah. You know, all our policies are just right on line. No one else even comes near them, you know?
Who is he again? John Anderson.
No.
John Anderson! Is any of you John Anderson? It seemed no one knew what he looked like, so I decided to try the National Party launch.
John Anderson is unquestionably committed and dedicated and devoted.
No, what does he look like?
Oh, to look like?
Yeah, what does he look like? So he's popular with the ladies?
Popular with everyone, but apparently has a certain glamour and appeal that I don't naturally feel, but members of the opposite sex do.
John, you want to see him over there, you know, don't you?
Which one's John?
John Anderson.
It's not that guy.
No, that's not him.
No, I didn't think so.
No, look, that's some imposter we brought in.
Yeah. Peter McGoran said that wasn't John Anderson.
No, that is John Anderson there.
John Anderson.
Hello, John Anderson, how do you do?
No, I'm not John Anderson, you're John Anderson. This is so confusing, isn't it? You guys should just get together and get it right who's the leader and who's John Anderson. Because someone's going to ask you someday. Excuse me, mate. How are you? You don't know what John Anderson looks like, do you? Do you know what John Anderson looks like? I've been looking for him. He's Deputy Prime Minister of the country, I think.
Yeah, that's me.
This is the third one I've met today. You sure?
I think I've been taken for a ride here.
You sure?
Are there three of us?
You don't quite fit the description I've been getting.
What was the description?
Well, you're tall, you're tallish. You're meant to have darker hair. You're a good-looking man, are you? Look, I reckon you haven't been right. Then to me, all right. I'll tell you what. If you do see him, tell him Craig's looking for him, all right? Thanks anyway. Tell him Craig's looking for him.
Craig's looking for him, all right?
Yeah, all right.
The issues: education. Liberal policy is to give more money to private schools because that's where their children are enrolled. Labor policy is to give more money to public schools to help ease their guilt that they send their children to private schools too.
We're now joined by Charles Firth, who's here to talk about another pressing issue.
Thanks, Craig. I think it's fair to say that nowadays in most professions women are equally represented.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
But in politics there's still a shameful imbalance. Women are outnumbered 3 to 1 in Parliament, and they have a lot to say about that. So I've compiled this special, in-depth report. Women. They're everywhere. In fact, 51% of the population is You guessed it, women. I spoke to an expert in statistics. If this lemon meringue were our population, how much of it would be women? But if this pie were our parliament, how much would be women? That's a pretty small serve. So what are we doing about it? Already we've seen some big changes. The chairman of a Senate committee is now called chairperson. Plus our sports minister is a woman. So why aren't there more women in Parliament? I spoke to a woman.
The problem is part of the wider system of patriarchal structural apparatus of social relations.
Critics label this as simplistic. Others think there are no women in Parliament because men are better at politics. Yet our research suggests that a mediocre man can be easily matched by a mediocre woman. The sad thing is that the solution is so simple. Manners. It's time male MPs stood up for women's rights. Come on, fellas, give up your seats for the ladies. Maybe that way we can get more chicks in the big house.
Tell you, I'm pretty happy. She hasn't changed from day one. She's had that smile on her face from the first day that I met her.
Welcome back to Democracy's Big Night Out. It's time now to announce our second Mal Award for the campaign.
Yes, now the Mal, of course, is named after rugby league player turned momentary politician Mal Meninga, and each week we award it to a Polly who stuffs up on the campaign trail.
And this week's winner is the Minister for Sport and Tourism, Jackie Kelly, who ran an advertisement about her commitment to local issues.
Yes, there's more to be done, and given your support, John Howard's Liberal team of Jackie Kelly, Pat Farmer and Kerry Bartlett will continue to put our local interests first.
Yes, as you can see, she's out there discussing the issues with someone who looks like a local farmer. The only problem is that he isn't actually a farmer, but rather a Liberal Party staffer. His name is Ben Davies. He works as a researcher for Tony Abbott. In fact, he doesn't even live in Jackie Kelly's electorate of Lindsay, but rather miles away in the inner city of Sydney.
Well, Jackie Kelly's clearly very close to the people of her electorate, and that certainly makes her a very worthy winner. So I went out to give the Minister her Mal. Jackie Kelly, a very special moment for you. This is the awarding of the Mal Award. You are this week's winner. Round of applause, everyone. Come on, yeah. Are you very proud?
Very proud.
You've got to know what this wonderful award is for.
I know what it's for.
What's it for?
No, I'm not telling.
This is for your wonderful advertisements about putting local communities first.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is.
Come on, no
Particularly given that you're obviously so close to the local community that the only farmer you could find is a staffer for Tony Abbott. But congratulations.
Pleasure. Thank you
well
very
done.
much.
Well done to all of you. This is really your award too.
Well,
this is the local farmer. Good. How's the farm going?
The
farm's good. The farm's going well. Yeah. It is a reflection of how bad farmers are doing nowadays. I've got to work part-time in Tony Abbott's job just to get through. Keep up all your hard work with the crops. You too, Tiger.
Media stars.
Congratulations there to Jackie Kelly for taking out our second Mal.
It really is more prestigious than winning office, isn't it? And if you have any nominations for next week's Mal, please send them to us here at election.chaser@abc.net.au.
And the best suggestion could win this fabulous prize.
You'll never leave home now that you've got the complete Hansard. Hours of fascinating reading right at your own fingertips. It's hard to pick up, but even harder to put down. So bring the house to your home. That's Hansard.
I was going back through 1932 just last night, and gee, I tell you what, some of those Joseph Lyons speeches really bear rereading.
Well, that's just about all we have time for here in the National Tally Room.
But before we do go, ABC guidelines, of course, require that our show be politically balanced. So, Julian, who have we been biased to tonight?
Yeah, we've given 17 more seconds to the Liberals.
Oh, well, there's a first for everything at the ABC. So we will just have to correct that, I'm afraid. So we got, Labor.
Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for King. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for Labour. Hallelujah, vote for
Once again, we're just waiting for the all clear from the ABC board.
Yeah, well, Michael Kroger wasn't so keen, but the rest say it's fine.
All right, well, join us again next week on the Election Chaser as we bring you all the results as they come to hand. We'll leave you tonight with more of that rare but satisfying vision of Bronwyn Bishop being accosted by a bumblebee. Good night.
You're my honey bunny. Ah! Buzz, 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 buzz. You're the bee's knees. Ah! How are you today? Ah! Thank you. What's the best thing you? You know, since the Liberals got in,